Levi, Mario, Anthony, and I have chosen Officer Dijon of Santa Barbara Police Department to highlight for our Hero Project.
My name is Sergeant Ryan Dijon, and I'm a sergeant with the Santa Barbara Police Department. I'm assigned to work in narcotics. I supervise our narcotics drug detail. I chose to become a police officer about 23 years ago. I was in college taking classes that were in this field. I got interested, and I wanted a job that had meaning, where I felt like I could make a difference and help people. And this job really seemed like that was a place where I could do it. I honestly thought about doing this or being a fireman, and I ended up going in this direction. There's a man named John Corey he's a family friend. He's known me since I was a baby, and he was a police sergeant here. And he's the one that really kind of influenced me. He was someone I looked up to, and when I wanted to kind of go down this path, he helped me become a police cadet here, which is kind of like an entry-level spot just to get your feet wet. You're not a police officer, you're more of just an assistant to the agency.
Officer Dijon has some advice for people interested in a career in law enforcement.
I'm a sergeant. That's a little different. You become a police officer first. So I went to Santa Barbara City College and I had my associate's degree, so my 2-year degree, and then I became a police officer. And I've been here for, like I said, 21 years, and I promoted to being a police sergeant. Becoming a sergeant is challenging. You have to have a lot of experience, be well-rounded. But even more so, I'd say it's more difficult to even become an officer. It's a very competitive process to become an officer. There's multiple interviews, there's a written test, there's a psychological exam, there's a police academy that you have to get through. And today, I mean, most people that are hired by our agency all have at least a bachelor's degree, if not a bachelor's or a master's. My recommendation for everyone listening to this would be to go after your bachelor's degree on the front end, because for any profession you guys are going to have, you're going to want to have your bachelor's degree to get that job.
Officer Dijon had a lot of key qualities of a police officer going for him.
It was around that same time. I knew that I wanted a job in public service. It was an exciting profession. This was a job that had the ability to work on a team. I went to St. Anna's High School. I played team sports. I was on the football team. I really liked team camaraderie. And those are all things that you got with this job. And it's a meaningful job, and I knew it would be, and a fulfilling job.
Police work may not always be safe, but Officer Dijon has never thought about leaving the line of duty.
I've enjoyed my job, my profession. I have considered moving to different agencies, only because there was an interest that my wife and I had for a while about maybe living in a different state. But I knew I always wanted to remain a police officer.
As a police officer, you get many benefits of the job. Over the years, his favorites have changed.
It's changed throughout my career. So when I was a newer officer, I really enjoyed the excitement, catching the bad guys, chasing people around town, and I still enjoy those things, but I think now I enjoy more the supervision of the job, helping other officers and detectives reach their goals. I very much enjoy the benefits of the job. Job pays very well. I have lots of time off. I work a 4-day work week, so I have 3 days off all the time. So there's a lot of benefits for my personal life outside of the job.
Although police work has many benefits, it also has many downsides and scarring events.
The hardest part is that we do deal with some tough things. Over a long career, you get exposed to a lot of suffering, a lot of death, a lot of injury, and that's challenging. It does take a toll on you, and I'm not impervious to that either. It's been hard on me at times, but you do know at the end of the day that you do have those hardships because you're there to help other people, and you're always there to try and make a difference in the positive sense. In police work, you get bumps and bruises and scrapes. That's normal. You're chasing people, you do get in fights, you're jumping over fences. I had a fight a few years ago where I cut my elbow on the ground while I was trying to strike the person with my elbow. It was right here. That injury wasn't so bad. It required a couple stitches, but then it got infected, and it was a life-threatening infection, and I spent 9 days in the hospital and had 3 surgeries, and I'm left with this nice long scar that was a surgical scar to clean the area.
One of the police officer's vows is to serve and protect even when no one's watching, which Officer Dijon holds up to by continuously helping the community.
We definitely hold people accountable. That's our job. But we also do things to try and provide services to people and get them out of the rut that they're in. I remember one time a man in his electric wheelchair broke down, and I pushed him for about 3 blocks, and it was extremely heavy, and I didn't realize how heavy it was when I started. There was one man that stands out to me. His name is Bernard, that was homeless for years and was an alcoholic, and he was a veteran. And I was able to get him into a VA program in Oregon and get him a bus ticket there. And so that felt good to be able to get him off the streets and get a veteran some help that he deserved. I was a narcotics detective for 7 years. So every time I went after a drug dealer and got drugs off the street, I felt proud of that accomplishment because I felt like I was helping keep that from going into our community. Now more so than ever with fentanyl, because that's killing people.
As a police officer, many precautions can be taken to prevent substance abuse.
The best thing is just to not experiment in the first place. Unfortunately, I think experimentation was sort of looked at as something that was normal to experiment with drugs. But we're finding that people are accidentally dying from accidental consumption of fentanyl. For example, a person might think they're taking a prescription pill to experiment and see what it's like, but it's not a real prescription pill. It could be a pill that was forged and made out of fentanyl, and that's causing people to die when they take it. Fentanyl's being laced in other drugs too, so like if you buy cocaine now, there's a strong chance that there's fentanyl in that cocaine. And the reason drug suppliers are doing that is it makes it more addicting. And so my advice would be to avoid addiction, don't experiment with drugs.
There is no way to stop violence, but as a police officer, you can try to prevent it by holding people accountable when violence does break out.
I don't believe you stop it, because violence is part of human nature in society, but you respond to it and you do what you can to hold people accountable that partake in it. We do address things like gang violence, but in general, there'll be fights at a bar, at a high school campus. There'll be domestic violence, and we can't prevent that. But what we can do is do our best job to investigate it and protect the people that are victimized.